All right.
Hey, look at this, all in there.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good night, good
All
night.
right, we got the camera on.
Yeah, but it's not, is it focusing right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I see me.
Yeah, but it's gotta go down a little bit. I don't remember how to do
Wait a
it.
second, I'm gonna get you my best side. No, the other side.
I don't wanna make it too.
So hitting the arrow going down. No?
This is what happens, I don't do it for months on end.
Hello.
I'm following.
Yes, Lord.
Looks like a fucking bag. I painted fingernail.
Tell us how you really feel, Don. I think I got that on tape, so that's too good play that
Our
over.
first call about home decoration at the guardhouse is
Really?
Yeah,
Obviously, if you're gonna get any complaints, it would be as close to Christmas as when people realize it.
I didn't think anybody would ever go say anything about it, one person would say something.
I got one call last week from Isabel that somebody in her building wanted to know how come we had no decorations.
Did you talk to the guy in my building,
Mr. Bunk, he's a schmuck.
Mr. Monk?
Monk, yes.
I think
You spoke to him, Donald spoke.
I think we'll record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't know you were on. I did talk to him. I did explain. He's not happy.
Oh, I remember now.
I'll talk after.
There we go.
Can we start from zero again? I know Stuart was coming.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he said he'd be back. I know Bob is
You won't
here.
be in the video. You'll just be heard.
Yes,
Heard but not seen,
Yeah.
yes.
and
I forgot.
in front of the herd.
Yeah, I filled Donald in on his I spoke to him half hour ago.
Yeah, I'll send him anything he wants. Title. He's gonna see the newspaper on Saturday anyway.
Is your building finished yet?
No, they're still working.
What's Mike doing in your place?
Nothing.
All right. He was looking at something over there.
But I would like
Not that I
to,
know of, eh?
the company that you used to paint your building,
Yeah,
they did a pretty good job, didn't they?
yes, we've heard of it.
Yeah.
Trying to remember. They were originally Lighthouse Painters, but now they've changed their name.
All right. Well, when you get a chance, if you give me their name and number,
Yeah.
because I don't think we're ready to paint yet, but then I got scared because I got a call from B Building that they want to paint every floor a different color of their building.
Oh. Can you say no?
It's not my spot. I said, you got to get your unit owners to agree
Yeah,
to have 4 different colors painted on the building.
I think if you change the color, it stops the maintenance and it becomes a significant alteration of
Right,
development.
right.
yeah.
That happened to Ed Black at his building when they wanted to change it even a little bit.
Yeah.
It became a membership.
It's 75% have to vote on the color change. Yeah,
Sure.
My building is 2/3,
75% or 66%,
66 and a third.
Yeah.
I think the lowest you're allowed to have is 51%. But I've seen buildings that are 100%.
Yeah.
Basically, they don't want the building to ever change. So they put in the bylaws, 100%.
Yeah, well, it's fine. This is burning him up, having me here.
how come we always had
Good.
one treasurer? Now we have 10 treasurers and they can't do the fucking work of one.
Oh, by the way, why does he need another desk in there?
It doesn't, and I've been instructed to remove it. It's going into storage.
We're only waiting for,
Stewart and Bob,
And you have 2 minutes, according to Cupertino.
Mickey Mouse says 2.5.
Steve Jobs says we have, 2.5.
Mickey's always right. Steamboat Willie.
My apologies.
No problem.
Do that. Pass this one.
Come on, Stu, let's get going. We're only gonna lunch.
Bob,
Yeah,
did you try the two-wheel up front motorcycle to see what the difference was? Or you already,
but I had a two-wheeler.
yeah, the two wheels are in the back.
Right.
Yeah, but have you tried the two in the front ones?
No, I haven't. Where am I?
All right, Stu, we're good to go.
I'm trying to.
The bills.
No.
Okay.
TikTok.
You know what? I forgot all about these, gate pass things. We should get that in the newspaper.
Yeah, that needs to go in the paper.
Yeah,
Might be too late.
We're gonna have to do, because that starts as of January 1st.
Yeah, all right. I'll make sure it gets in.
Yeah. Oh, and please, did you take out that little blip giving the wrong information about the hours that UCO is open?
I'll check on it.
In last month's paper, they had contradictory information.
I'll check it. And like I said, if it's not, this is not in, I'm gonna.
Yeah, because Ruth said that she didn't authorize it. The guy, they just put it in.
Yeah, all they did was go to the previous,
Yeah.
you know. They used the previous as a template.
Oh, come on.
And when they have space they have to fill, they'll just go back to old files, yank something and put it in.
I'm having too much fun here.
I know the one you mean. All that happened there was a spot to fill. So
Yeah.
I went back to the old files and yanked out a box, but the box is stale.
As far as the notary service also, it says that we do notary work from 9 till 12. That needs to be changed.
Right after the meeting, because I think it's going to print tomorrow.
Okay,
What,
11:30 to 12, I think is the notary, yeah.
yeah,
well, if I'm here, yeah, you could, I can still do it.
I know, but when you're not here,
Yeah.
you just. I think that would be. All right, we're all here. All here. I got 101. How about a little roll call? Please.
Roll call. David Israel's not here. Set a doctor's appointment. Edward Grossman,
Here.
Dominic Garnacia, Stuart Richland,
Here.
Fausto Fabro.
Here.
Here. David Boaz.
Yes.
I'm here. Mary Patrick.
Absent.
Okay. And Don Foster's here.
That's it. So we have a quorum
Yes.
to have a meeting.
Yes, we
We
do.
need 5. We have 6. So, first order of business, Donald.
You want my stuff first?
Yes.
Cool. All right, guys, first item on the list is the last portion of the roadway striping. I'm bringing you fine line striping for a total of $23,296.53. This proposal has been reviewed and approved by the Bid Infrastructure Committee. I bring it to the officers for their review and consideration. Most of us was here, so did you come up with any questions or concerns on this?
Move to accept fine line striping estimate.
Do we have a second on that? Seconded by Dominic.
I didn't hear a motion, sorry.
A motion made by David Boaz to accept fine line striping,
Is there a second?
seconded by Dominic.
Okay, we're in discussion, so can I go first?
Absolutely.
David Boaz brought up the issue, maybe we should do the paving first, which I'm gonna get to next, before we do the striping, and obviously that makes sense, so
Yeah.
we'll make sure that happens. Other than that, pretty cut and dry. Anybody else?
Just out of curiosity, do they have some sort of striping that resonates at night or at least?
Yes, you have two types of striping that we use here. One is called thermoplastic product.
Yeah.
Which is basically cooked on. It's really pavement and it's highly reflective, I believe. The other stuff is just plain reflective DOT grade paint. The compromise we came to some years ago was that things that need really to be seen, which like stop bars, ladder crosswalks, things like that, we use the thermoplastic product. So if you get up to one of our main intersections, you'll notice that they reflect a little better.
I was just wondering if there was another type of striping that people are walking around could recognize without having their headlights on their car reflect black.
The stuff we put down is fairly
Okay.
reflective. What it is worn out. It's beat
Yeah,
by the sun.
okay.
So you'll notice a difference right off the bat, but over time, it'll dull again, you know?
Are you talking maybe about the reflectors that are put in the ground?
No, I'm talking about the paint. The
Paint itself.
reflectors is a different story.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, people walking around at night come to the end of the corner and they
Sure.
just walk right across and not pay attention and so
I
on.
mean, the trick is we're trying to light up as much as possible. We're constantly adding.
Yeah, no, I
streetlights.
understand
And once the
that.
lights hit them, then
Yeah, okay.
Are there any other discussions on fine line?
Yeah, the total is 23,296.53. Right? And who's the one that made the motion? And
Dave
second.
and Dominic
Okay,
second.
I did
You
get
got
that right.
that?
I got it right.
If there's no more discussion, can we have a vote, please?
Okay. Ed,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Stuart,
Yes.
Fausto,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and me, yes. It's
Okay.
unanimous. All right,
on to the next one.
On to the next one.
Okay, the next one is paving repairs. This is maintenance. This proposal is from Atlantic Southern Paving. The total is $11,213. 750 square feet of deteriorated pavement that will be repaired. Expect it'll be a little more by the time you guys get here. It worked out to $6.40 a square foot, which is in line with previous jobs. This proposal has been reviewed and approved by the Bids and Infrastructure Committee, and I bring it to the officers for their review and consideration.
Can we have a motion on accepting? Ed made a motion,
Yes, to accept.
and can we have, and David Boaz seconds the motion. Any discussion on this? Any
Yeah.
questions?
Just for the officers' knowledge, I think for the coming year, what I'm going to suggest is that we bid these paving jobs out no more than twice a year, rather than every single time, because number one, it's time consuming. It's time consuming for the contractors and for me, right? It's something I need to do. And I also don't want to get into a rut where we're jerking around contractors. It's just, we're all satisfied with this work. To me, this is no different than what we're satisfied with Seacrest. We have a contract with them. They mow our lawns and trim our hedges. This is maintenance.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation, but the Bid and Infrastructure Committee could, you never know when someone's gonna come up with a new vendor that they think might do better. So barring that's what I got.
Will we do paving, what, twice a year, sometimes 3 times a
No, I
year?
try to do once a quarter.
Yeah, well,
So let's call it 5 times a year. This was originally supposed to be for the end of this quarter, but I just didn't get to it in time, so it's gonna be beginning of next quarter. You wanna have at least a quarterly payment, because you wanna set up a routine. This way, if somebody takes a flop, you can demonstrate that you have a regular maintenance program. And this is I get from Tony. That's what I learned from
all
him.
right.
So that's what I got. Anybody else?
Are any more questions, comments? Could we have a call on the,
Okay. Motion is to accept Atlantic Southern Paving and Seal Coatings bid of $11,213, which comes out to $6.40 a square foot. Ed Grossman,
yes,
Dominic,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Fausto,
yes,
David,
Yes.
me, yes. Mary, no. All right.
Good.
We got anything else going on?
Yeah, one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 6-0. Motion passes.
Guys, last thing is the video inspection and cleaning of the second half of our underground storm drain system. I'm bringing you the Hinterland Group for a total of $130,200. This proposal was reviewed and approved by the People Bids Infrastructure Committee, and I now bring it to your consideration.
do I have a motion on this? So we can discuss it?
I'll move.
Stuart making the motion,
Make the motion to accept the HG
David Boaz,
contract
second.
for $130,200.
Okay, discussion,
Yeah, I have something. I frankly didn't expect this vendor to even want to bid on this work. This was suggested to me by Dave Boaz. And I'm kind of glad they did. Well, they came in low for one thing. And
right,
I think we'll have a better experience with this vendor than we did with the first half, because this is a big operation. They work for they do most of their work for the water utilities.
municipalities, yeah.
Municipalities. So I have a good relationship with Brett Konchak, who's the boss, and I think we'll get this done pretty quick.
He's also gonna give us some video
Oh, yeah.
like we have.
Oh, yeah. This way, and this came up at the bids committee meeting. We're talking about when we're gonna slap new paving down. And you had an engineer in here give you an expert opinion. You got a lot going on under that paving, and storm drains is just the beginning of it. You'll need that video to give to an engineering firm when you want to do a multidisciplinary study of the infrastructure. So this is a good first step.
Now, how much of the village does this cover? Is it,
The second half, we did one half, this
Okay.
covers the rest.
okay, so this is to do the entire second half of the village,
Yeah, we're done once this is done.
okay?
Do we have money reserved for this?
Yes, this is a budgeted expense.
We don't have to go to delegates with this.
I don't think so. Ed, what did we, budget?
Well, I think the ruling is that anything over
Yeah,
$2,500.
but that wasn't my question. My question is that we have a actual reserve line for
Yeah,
this.
this was a bid. I mean, this is,
It's a line item.
it's a line item.
It's a
so-
line item, and it's also in our reserve, and I don't remember what the
The
number was.
reserve is, I keep telling you, is really a potpourri. And whatever you see on individual line items really doesn't mean a hill of beans.
Okay,
You have enough money in the reserve to take care of
that's
it.
good to know.
Okay,
right.
that's the bottom line. I have one question.
Sure.
You said you used this firm before?
No, my experience with this firm is they've been working on our property for a few years now, but as a contractor to Palm Beach County Water Utilities. So how did I have a relationship with this vendor? I'm always after him when he runs over my sod or breaks my sprinklers and he gets back and fixes things he broke.
So you felt it wasn't necessary to get a second bid?
We did get a second bid.
Oh, yeah.
And now those two bids were reviewed by the Bid Infrastructure Committee, and this is the one.
What
that's
was the
approved.
difference in price?
10 grand, $10,000.
Okay.
There was also something about meters too. They were trying.
Yeah, there was some
Yeah,
terms in
the
there
other
that
place was gonna
made
charge
it, it really made
$1,500.
it more, yeah. But bottom line was, the other one was 10 grand more.
I think you'll have a better completion time with this company.
Yes, absolutely.
Than what you did.
Well, I think that's what we agreed on, that this, as far as mobilization, this has a much bigger crew, and you said you had some problems with the other company.
Yeah, he's a
To
smaller
get them
company,
to
and I think he
finish.
was spread out to other jobs, and you're not gonna have that with this guy. This guy needs to get in and out and get on to the next job. This is one of the biggest construction companies in Palm Beach County. The other thing is that I think is important is that with these two halves of this project, we're getting a map of our storm drain system that we didn't have before. There were no as-built for our storm drain system. We basically just get. There's gonna come a point where you're gonna have to rehabilitate that storm drain system. You've done a good piece of it, but just in the outflow lands. If you remember, when I first came to work, one of my first projects was repairing and relining the outflow sections, the sections that terminate in the lakes, because that's the ones that are exposed to air and they run. So you've got, look, for instance, in Stratford, all of those outflow pipes have been relined and repaired from the lake all the way to the ring road. So if you go around the map, we've done quite a bit of it already, but it's the parts that aren't accessible from one end that'll be expensive.
What did that, to remind everybody, and I wasn't here at the time, but how much did that, I know you know at the top of your head, how much did that cost to fix that sinkhole at Waltham? And
80,000, 80 grand.
this is something that
And it was
really,
only 20 feet.
yeah, this is something that really has to be done.
I mean, I really didn't, the first half, the worst section I saw was on the Kent, but it's on the lawn. So unless a truck drives over the lawn, you're not gonna have a problem, right? It's the sections that are on the roadway that we have to worry about. And it could have been brought to bed and happened, sure. And if it does, you get it fixed, Basically, the excavation is half done for you when it collapses. So,
Isn't there a depression at Lincoln Street?
yeah, you and I went and looked at that depression.
Yeah, and that's in the middle of an intersection.
Right, you could see where the road pitches down,
Yeah.
right? The other one I keep a look at is, Bob Marshall put me onto a piece over by Coventry, and I go over it every day because I said, this is the next road collapse. But this is the half that we didn't do yet, so I'm curious to see, what that is. So anyway, that's all I got. The video is interesting.
Okay. If there's no more questions?
Ed,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Stuart,
Yes.
Fausto,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and me, yes. Once again. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So far, this is an easy meeting.
Thank you, Donald.
I do, please make sure that we get the new rates and barcodes going up in January to $10 and everything else that we agreed.
This will
Make
go,
sure that gets in the paper.
this is the official version. This goes in the paper.
That's got to go in the paper.
Okay, will we open the other stuff now?
Donald, do you have anything else pertaining to maintenance or?
Nah.
No?
You guys are here every day. You know what pretty much know what I'm up to. We could talk about Christmas lights. We got a couple of,
We got a couple of people that complained that we didn't have Christmas holiday lights, blah, blah, blah.
I got one just a little while ago. She said it was like comparing what she saw outside, it was like coming into a black hole.
it would have been nice to have something, particularly now to brighten people up, but how much do you need? We'll think of something next year.
We'll go around the table. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Actually,
All right.
I got something I want to bring up.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to be submitting a proposal. It's got to go through you guys first. All right. It's going to have to be a bylaw change in order to take the secretaries and do like the vote, like the vice presidents, and have one running 1 year, one running another, rather than both at the same time. All right, that way, if necessary, there could be some kind of cross-training where one can teach the other.
You're talking about staggering.
Yeah,
Election.
staggering the secretaries in elections. And I think that'd be the best thing, either that or eliminate a secretary, which is also going to take a bylaw change.
No, I think the staggering method by which we should have that election is the best idea. This way you always have one person in office, regardless of what happens.
And I'd like that to happen this election.
That ain't gonna happen. How you gonna do a bylaw change?
Can't be done this,
Can't be done this time.
logistically, it can't be done.
You can always start it, however.
Yeah.
Right.
Get started.
You need to put it in writing and submit it to the committee, to the bylaw committee.
Yeah.
So that they can go, the procedures, they'll review it, they'll go legal with it, and then from that point, it'll go through the process.
It can be initiated, a bylaw change is allowed to be initiated through the officers.
Right, yeah.
You need 100 signatures.
No, you don't.
No.
As an officer, you do not.
Officer.
I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it. It was brought up before.
Same way with the advisory committee, they are allowed to propose a
Right.
bylaw change.
So bylaw changes can originate in A, the officers committee, B, the advisory committee, or C, any unit owner who comes up with 100 signatures.
Correct.
That's,
But
that's,
this bylaw change really remedies a loophole that we had in our system. At one time, it didn't make much of a difference because the people that were doing it were always here doing their job.
Yeah.
And now we don't have that. And so it necessitates us to make the change. And I agree, it should be done.
And this is similar to the United States government. Legislation can originate from either House of Congress or the president. We do have three as well.
Yeah.
Your membership, your advisory, or your
well, we also always had an administrator here that could help out in a pinch and fill in if one of the secretaries. So that's gonna need to be resolved also.
right. From my point of view,
Yeah.
out of the 8, you got 2 options. A,
Yeah.
I like B because it brings you down to an odd number.
Right.
Which is always better in a committee.
But you gotta put it in writing just the way you wanna propose it, and you gotta get it to the
And,
committee.
well, this would also eliminate the need for asking someone to resign, so.
Not necessarily, Bob. What you can do, if your proposal goes through, and this is just me thinking out loud, if and when this happens and it's agreed upon, then all that has to be done is the administrative thing is that one of those offices is only going to have a 1-year term,
Right,
and the other one's going to have a 2-year term.
Right.
Just like you do when you have to have an election for an extra person on the executive board. So, I mean, I think that's something that, I like the staggered thought, but I don't think we'd have to go that technically to have somebody resign. In the next election, I think you can just say, X position is only going to be for 1 year the first time in.
well, you flip a coin,
Yeah,
you flip a coin and say,
if
this
you
is,
understand what I'm saying.
Well, in this case, it's who's doing the work.
We've done that once before, a few years back, where we had a 1-year term election for, just to maintain it, and then went back to the normal cycle, but that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want it on record that I'm doing her job again. All right.
No, we all understand that. We know that.
I just want it on record that I am doing her job again because she's failed to come in and do anything.
well, we're aware of it.
So I want the public to know it.
Okay.
all right? Because she's got a lot of friends and fans out
It's okay.
there.
Do you have anything else?
And no,
Okay.
that's all.
Dominic, you're up next. Do you have anything to discuss?
No, I have nothing to do.
David?
Nothing in particular. You do have the change for the barcode going from $5 to $10.
I got it all written up already, so I just forgot to send it to Ruth.
They're also going to need those signs put at the front desk.
Signs are made,
Also,
We have the signs, they're already made.
they're already made.
and
Right.
I'll work on something to write up. And I'll get it approved about when you do a gate pass. I really think we should hand the person that's getting a gate pass,
Right.
this is what a gate pass actually is.
Okay. We also discussed previously because we have the machinery that can do this, take a picture of the person
Yeah, we-
for the gate
yeah.
pass,
We do.
all right?
Yeah, we have
and-
that capability.
Yeah, well, let's start implementing that because
Oh, on that gate.
otherwise
I don't know about
they
that.
can just turn around and give it to someone else to come in the gate.
No, that's not true.
Have to match up.
No,
They
that's,
show their ID.
that's why as of this year, January, when they issue a gate pass, they must accompanied by a picture ID of the individual. And that goes into the record, so when they show up at the guardhouse, they pull it up and they know exactly who that person is.
Yeah.
So that system is in place.
Okay, I'm just saying, like when you go to the hospital, they got
I know.
your picture, it's on a sticker. You can always put the sticker on a piece of paper and give it to them,
Sure.
you know? I think that's the best way to do it. That way,
I agree.
there's no question whatsoever when the guard checks it. Yep, that looks like you.
Something to look into.
Yeah.
I did have one thing.
Yes,
Yesterday, it said that I had a mathematic error on the proposals for the bid committee. Could you tell me where I went wrong?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
It wasn't a mathematic proposal. It's right on the invoice. If you look at, I think it's EKG or something like that, it says Part A, $15,000. Addition, the pool's $5,000. And the total was 20. So if you have it here, it's not an error, it's just a presentation.
Right, but the decision was made to pass this along to the operations committee, so you'll have another shot.
Well, I think we should have a vote on that this should be reversed. We're recommending it. I mean, that was not a fair presentation.
Yeah, this is operations is operations. It's,
Well, I don't have the film, but I know
Right.
pretty much they said $2,700, and that's a misrepresentation. Am I right?
For which one?
It was for painting, I think, the exterior of the Hastings.
But that's going to be re-reviewed at the next operations committee.
Well,
So
I
you'll have
think-
an opportunity to.
Well, I'm not saying it shouldn't, but I think we should note it and let the operations.
If you want, I will look for it. And during the next operations meeting, I will broadcast it so
I
that they
think
can
that's
see
important
exactly what was said.
Because that's what my recollection was. But what I'm saying here, it's been voted on, as you say, but I think that vote is illegitimate. And we're the officers. If you think it's legitimate, let it go, rather than just say maybe. I think we should send them a letter saying,
Sorry.
but wasn't a vendor picked? We picked the vendor.
you picked the vendor basis misinformation. The information that was given,
No.
and Dominic gave me that the morning of the meeting.
All right, just hear me out for a minute, because I am also thinking out loud. The Bids and Infrastructure Committee is advisory in nature,
Right,
and when they're voting or discussing WPRF matters, they're advising the Operations Committee, not the officers. Now, when they're voting on this stuff,
I
they're
understand. that.
advising this committee.
Right.
So I think that the right place for this to be re-gone over is the Operations Committee.
Well,
And let
I
because
agree.
we don't have the,
But
Well, you can make a recommendation.
yeah, that's my recommendation, because you don't have the Operations Committee here. to
I'm
see
not
the
saying
discussion.
vote on it. I'm saying,
I'm the person that made that motion. And the reason why we picked that vendor,
Was for the-
because that vendor is saying that Benjamin Moore is going to warranty the material and the labor for eight years, which the other company didn't do that. That's why we
Well, they
picked that
normally, that's
vendor.
an option.
Well, if I may,
Sure.
okay. I actually voted for that vendor,
Yeah.
basis the fact that it was presented as a $2,700 difference. I also bring to your attention that the other vendors simply said, as per your RPF, okay? The vendor we chose that decided to give us a song and a dance. I think it's misrepresentation, and I'd like to see it on tape. I mean, I agree, I voted for it, but I voted for it on the basis of 2,700. If you take what the other vendor did, and you look at it, you could almost have 2 times painting for the same price, the difference.
Not really, Ed.
And I understand, let me finish. It's an $8,000 difference. That's 50% of the $15,000 that vendor did. If you still feel it's apropos, fine. I feel it's a misrepresentation.
Okay, David?
I have a quote from A1 Traffic. Their quote is 23,500.
Correct.
The quote from CKG is $20,710.
No, it's $15,000.
No, it's not. $15,000. Plus, if we want to do the awnings, it's another $5,000.
It says additional, was the awnings in the request?
I'm looking at this and they're saying.
No, do we have the request? Did it call for it? Why would they call it additional?
Because that wasn't part of the building. And so they were getting a quote on painting the building. The canopy is not part of the building.
That's
so-
why, so it's incorrect.
But it's not,
Well,
I see what he's saying. If it wasn't in the request for bid, then
well, they're trying to sell a
added-
job. They're
they
trying to
added
sell a job.
something, trying to sell
But the
you.
bottom line was,
Well,
one was
you know,
20,000, the other one was 23. If,
Well, if you turn around and you take the original bid,
right,
what you're requesting for,
right.
it's 15,000, not 20. So if you turn around and tell them, no, we don't want you to do the canopies. That wasn't in the bid. That wasn't in the request.
Well, does the other company, I don't have the paper in front of me. Does
I
it-
didn't see anything about canopies on the other one.
no,
So
it was,
in this case, I agree with you, and I believe
That's
I
why
voted
said
against it.
That one was a request for quote and the other was a proposal. And what was requested was a request for quote with the mistake of calling it a proposal.
Right,
So he conformed to Benjamin Moore Paint and the whole process with the other one. And it's changing the paint and so forth. So it's not what we asked
we could
for.
go around in a circle, but according to what I see, the other one said, as per your quote. And if you quoted Benjamin Moore,
That's
that
correct.
meant that 15,000 included Benjamin Moore.
That's correct.
Which would give you the warranty
hold
from
all
the
right,
factory.
hold on, Donald?
All right, so at any rate, all of you are going to have upwards of a month to
Yeah.
review the recommendation of the advisory committee before
Right.
it gets to the deciding committee, which this is not.
Right.
Operations is the deciding committee.
And as far as painting goes, I still maintain that Eva said that she didn't need to have the,
That's the interior. That's for the interior.
Right.
And that's why we killed that.
That's
Yeah, we didn't, that didn't
oh,
move
that's right,
forward.
okay,
Yeah, this is the exterior of the building.
only.
And we also refused to pay for putting their existing tile down in the bathrooms.
Well, I think that, I'm looking at this closely. I think, and I very well could be wrong, but I think A1's quote says porte-cochere ceiling. And I think that's probably the only.
Yes, Portico.
Says right here, soffits, columns, and the porte-cochere ceiling.
So it's included.
Well, Believe me, that's the first time I've heard Portage here in a long time. And I'm not gonna testify to that,
That's the
but
thing that a horse
Ceiling,
and buggy
ceiling,
comes
to
under.
me,
Yeah.
to me, ceiling says underneath. Nothing about on top, nothing about the sides.
one might call it an awning and one might call it portage.
Well, the person that would need that, we need to discuss that with Dan for clarification, because he's the one that made the RFQ.
Exactly.
And almost certainly he'll be at the operations committee. He was unable to, it turns out he was unable to make the last meeting because he was in quarantine.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Could we request him to make that clearer
I'll-
for the
Yeah, we'll
operation?
get in touch with him. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Not at the meeting, but prior to the
Prior
meeting?
to the meeting, yeah, we'll get in touch.
I'll email him tomorrow. And see if those two are. the
Yeah, let's
same.
make them come Christmas.
Yeah, that's, give him a heads up
I'll
to,
be happy to do that.
since it was presented to us by him or through him, let's get him to clarify. Anything else, David?
That wasn't me, I was just involved.
No, I know, but we were up to you.
Oh, anything? No, that's fine, as long as you have that thing about the signs and so forth.
Yeah.
And
Bob did make me a new sign. I have them on my desk to go over here next week.
I really think we should hand something out to the
Yes.
people to get these. And I also think that we should send no names, no who about it is, just saying, your building number 104 has been issued a gate pass for 90 days, has been issued a gate pass for
Wait,
60.
that was passed also.
Just letting know that, and I'll work on some type of a written form to.
Right,
Well,
that.
but
by unit though, right?
Pardon me?
By unit, not just building.
yeah, unit
We gotta
104,
Send it to the building, saying
Right.
this unit has.
Okay.
right, no names.
Yeah,
That's
so-
okay.
I think I raised the question of if I was a unit owner, I may not want my
Your first name.
busybody,
Yeah, it's fine.
not knowing who my new girlfriend is. you know.
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah,
No, it's
I don't think
hundred
it's a
percent.
privacy thing.
I think it's a safety issue, especially the fact that people trying to use gate passes for other than what they are intended to be used for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry I took up so much.
No, listen, this is the place to do it. But I know I did ask Bob to make up a sign, and it would be good if we do put something out that we can cut up. And if somebody comes in, we can have them print it up and we'll just hand it to them. You need a gate pass, this is what you need. Because putting it into paper, we've been putting it into paper, it goes in one ear and out the other.
A lot of people don't read the paper either.
That's true.
That's the big problem.
That's the problem. You're not
But-
contacting everybody.
I gotta call you back, I'm in a meeting.
Or they're like me, they forget it after the
Okay.
period. you know.
All right. Anything else, David?
No, that's
All
the
right.
thing. I'll check on this with Dave.
Yeah, we'll all get a second bite in case something comes up. Stuart, up to you.
Based on our experiences in the last 3 or 4 weeks dealing with our customers, so to speak, one of the things that we have all agreed on is such an ignorance on the part of the people who live here as to the process, what we do, what they need when they come in here. It's hard for me to understand an adult where you speak to them over and over again, explaining what you must have in your hand to get the services that we are giving them. And they stand there, that's like they're illiterate. And it's one of that to me is really one of the most frustrating things that we've been dealing with in the last 4 weeks or so since the new process.
Yeah,
And I think by printing up the instructions, the way you talked about, could resolve.
well, we need 3. You need 1 for how to get a Century Village ID that you could hand out, that it's not done here, it's done at the clubhouse.
Right,
1 for barcodes and 1 for guest passes.
right.
That we could, make a master template and we can just print them out and cut them and just hand them to the people. Which even today, we had somebody that just bought an apartment and he had no clue. He doesn't know where the clubhouse is, doesn't know where anything is, Yes, Don.
I see this as one of the few good things that have come out of the pandemic because of our shortage of volunteers. The officers have been running that front desk.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know before, you know now what those volunteers had to deal with day in and day out, every day. And some of that resulted in some policy changes being made around here. And you know, that came out of you guys being out there. So, yeah, try to find some good in the bad.
Some good from the
But
negative.
that was one of the things, when Isabel and Ronnie sat out front, or Patricia and Ronnie, that's what they used to do. You need a barcode, they would check the registration, they would check the Century Village ID, and they would tell the people to sit, kind of like pre-screening,
Mhm.
which is what we're doing at the door, they used to do at the front
And
desk.
as soon as they sat down, every one of them pick up their phone.
Yeah.
Hi, ¿cómo está?
Yeah.
Nobody could hear anybody.
Anyway, so that was just my observation, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Ed, you're up.
I had a long laundry list, but I'm going to curtail it for this meeting. The first thing is just David Bowers, you had volunteered to sign for the bank account. You asked me to get you a card. It wouldn't do you any good. They won't put you on as a signature unless you're there personally.
Okay.
That's one. Two, just for a mechanical kind of thing, the other day, and pushing for getting a report out. I don't know who's calling, I'm trying to turn it off, but to my surprise, I found that Chris told me he was working on a schedule for you. I would think that you should ask me before you have him do work. He reports to me and he was in the middle of something else. I would be more than glad to accommodate you, but at the right time. Three, I think we should review at this point whether we're in favor or not of having a delegate assembly. We haven't had it. I think we've been put in a bind by Eva. She's elected to open. We're electing to close, and it doesn't bear well. I get lots of email from people saying, oh, we're doing that on purpose. There were clubhouses already open.
We all catch a bit of that.
Hmm?
We all catch a bit of that.
Well, the question is, we should have a vote whether we're gonna go forward or not.
It's not up to us. WPRF has been cleared to open up 78 seats in the theater.
That's for the movies.
That's what we were told. They're going to section off 78 seats. Not to put anybody else in there other than the 78 people. If they can guarantee us that they will put 117 people in there, enough that we have a quorum, then we can go ahead if we want to have it. But the last thing that we were told, 78 seats only in the center section, no balcony, no A, no C, and no balcony.
That's for movies. If you want to have delegate assembly, she will open up the balcony. She'll open up the sides,
I don't know.
all right?
Look,
Donald, do you know something I don't?
you don't, but I have a thought. That 78 number wasn't pulled out of a hat.
Yeah.
That was a studied number.
Right.
They looked at their space and used guidelines to see what's the safest amount of people you can put in there. I have no doubt that you might be able to convince Eva to relax that safety protocol just for political reasons, to give us the room. But why would you, not me, want to go out and basically short circuit that idea just to have a meeting? The question I'm always asking people is with meetings, is this trip really necessary? Are you just having a meeting for the sake of having a meeting, or do you have something significant to decide on? I would be more in favor of you guys having an executive board meeting, which is basically the fallback when you can't have it, then, because that's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
And if something, I mean, you guys all have to make that you're on the hook when you vote on this.
Well,
But that's
I
just,
think you got a good point, but I think the least we could do is ask Eva if she'll accommodate 117 people.
Wow.
because no matter what you're gonna say,
You have to
it looks like a
Hold
cover.
on, this is going to show you where the 78 are, just in this square. That's it.
And I would respond to one of the things you said, Donald. I think there's a great deal that should be said to the delegate assembly. And we don't have that forum. And the newspaper certainly isn't either. You just convinced me of that. And I do want to make sure that, in other words, if I want to change a bylaw, for instance, all I got to do is prepare it and give it to the committee, and they have to vote on it, yes or no, as if they had 100.
You can propose a
Well, that's
bylaw
what you
change.
could do.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, if you had 1,000 signatures, you could
Doesn't
only
matter.
do.
It still goes
David?
to the delegate assembly later on.
David,
I'm going to make a statement about the delegate assembly first. We have to allow every delegate in, which
Right.
would be
359.
359.
which is out of the
You just
question
can't
at this
say
point.
117.
No, but for our quorum, in order to, I picked that number for the simple reason that that's what would need to have a quorum.
Right, but you have to be prepared
Yeah.
that everybody shows up. It
Right.
won't happen in real life.
Well,
It's not going to happen. It never
but
happens.
that's not.
let's be realistic. How many times didn't we have a quorum in the 117?
Can it,
How many times?
Ed, could you let David finish his?
All right, I'm
please?
sorry.
Thank you.
My only point is, I'm not disagreeing. I'd like to have a delegate assembly. But I don't think you can disenfranchise somebody saying, okay, we're only going to allow 120 delegates in. You can't do that.
And you may never get 359, but you might get 124.
Right.
You know, and you have to be prepared for that.
Well, you also have to figure that the officers
That we're
have to
there.
be 6 feet apart up on the stage. And I don't think we would be stretching the whole stage, and I don't think you could have 6 feet apart. That would be one table for each of us.
Then you get the other end of the population problem, which is what Dominic brought up. You very likely, especially if things heat up pandemic-wise, you may not get a quorum, in which case, did you bring all these people in the room
For no
for
reason.
no good reason? They gotta go home, you know, and then are you putting them at risk?
Yes, David, finish.
Now, if we're done with that,
Yes.
I want to go to the proposals
Yes,
for bylaw changes. My understanding is that a bylaw change may come from the officers committee.
Committee.
right,
It may come from the advisory
Advisory.
committee,
right.
or it may come
Right.
from a delegate who gets 100 UCO
Signature. Yeah.
All right, so let me ask
So
this
the
question.
committee, if you bring a proposal about to the committee has to approve
Right.
that.
Right.
So if Bob brings his proposal. and
In
you guys
right,
shoot
which is
it-
what I told him to
Yeah,
do.
but let's say you guys shoot it down. I don't expect you will, but let's say you did. It ends there. Bob's
I
dead in the water.
have to check with Anita for sure.
I don't think so. I think it still has to go to advisory.
Well, it goes to advisory at any rate. That's your,
Right.
it's your advisory committee. But I think that it's the officers committee that sends it forward to the delegate assembly, not an officer, an individual officer. Am I catching that right?
On the fine point of that, Donald, I have to say we have to check with Anita.
Yeah, we better check soon.
My understanding was that no matter where the amendment came from, or the proposal for an amendment, it would go to Anita. Anita sends it to legal. Once legal clears it up, she brings it back and moves either forward or from that point. That's what I remember.
And they're all proposals.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So are we saying that if someone brought a proposal for a change of bylaw to the offices
Now.
and the
that's to be
offices turned it
initiated
It
down,
has to be initiated by the offices,
initiated or?
not brought into us. Somebody, one of the officers,
Okay.
like Bob.
I correct myself.
Right.
Someone, one of the officers initiates a proposed bylaw, brings it to the officers committee. The officers committee says yea or nay,
Right.
but under the current rules, even if they say nay, it goes forward to the next.
That's
step.
correct.
I'm
And
not
that,
sure
Well,
of that.
that was
my question.
That was one of the questions that we had in the previous bylaws. If an amendment was brought up and it was shot down, it died.
Right.
It wasn't going forward.
correct.
So in the amendment, it was that advisory, once they got a hold of it, they would look at it And if they approved of what it was, they would send it to legal to make sure that what the amendment was
It
legal,
was even doable.
was even doable. And then based on what the legal response was, they would go, but it's still, even if they turned it down,
Right.
it would still move on for a full vote of the advisory.
Got to go
That's-
through executive, it's gotta go-
Right.
then goes to us.
Right, it still goes through, even if we still gets turned down, unless there's a legal issue. If the legal department says there's something in here that's not legal, then it stops and it gets brought back. Olga was an example. That's something that she put in there wasn't worded correctly.
Right.
And we gave it back to her to rewrite it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's
Right?
exactly what we did.
It's exactly, if there's something, some wording in there that's not legal or it can't be, then it goes back to the original.
And she fixed it and then it went through
Right,
and it got
right.
voted down.
It also,
Excuse me for a second.
Good,
I attended, I was at all of those meetings
yeah,
and made contributions to it. Just to clarify, if you make a proposal for an amendment to the bylaws and it's submitted to the officers, for example, the officers could reject it, all the officers could reject it, or they could partially reject it. Some will say for or against. But what that forum was about was to explain why they accepted it, their recommendations, why they did not with their recommendations. So when that proposal goes forward to the next level, those who are not in on the original meeting will be cognizant of the fact that some of the officers did not like it because of such and such, which could have merit. And so as a result, it would be at that point where the next level would discuss it and then go back to the originator and ask them to make some changes. It could be very minor, but it could be a sticking point. And then they would clean it up. And then it would be satisfactory to all those who opposed it in the offices, and then move it on with a yay for everybody. And that was the way it was. But the concept was that you couldn't dismiss something outright because that was not fair. And especially if someone, non-officer, went out and got 100 plus signatures, it was unfair to the person who went out and got the signatures to dismiss it offhand, just like that.
well, that's what they changed in the bylaws.
That's
that you
exactly
couldn't
right.
Just kill it.
Right.
It had to go through the process one way or another.
That's exactly right, because it was only fair to recognize the effort of the person who put it together and getting the signatures. We didn't want to go ahead and belittle their effort, and that was the basic
Do you have
philosophy.
anything else on that, David, that you want to finish?
No.
Okay, Ed, I cut you off before.
no, that's okay. I mean, Stuart went through this whole rigmarole, but is the bottom line still that goes forward?
Right, that's in the new bylaws. Yeah, it doesn't get killed unless there's a legal issue.
Right.
That's why they run it through legal.
Yes, and I could tell you firsthand that it cost me $1,500 to get a Rod Tennyson opinion that was read aloud at the meeting. And he said no, and then he reversed it after he got a lawyer's letter that cost me $1,500. That's why I want to be exactly sure. I don't want to have to spend that kind of money again. I'm going to make one or two more comments because I think some of this has to go forward in a different fashion. I just learned that Chris was moved. No one asked me. He works for me, and I think that's wrong. And I understand it came from two people. One is you and one is David. And I really don't care who brought it forward. It's very clear that he worked for me. So I think that's wrong.
Well,
And I think it has to be corrected.
well, Ed, David told you on Monday that he was being moved.
No, he didn't.
He said it right here.
I listen, David could tell you to jump off the moon. He's one vote.
He
One,
said he was moving it. He
and I
right in
said
front of
no.
all the
I
officers.
said no. Okay? It's very clear in the bylaws that what he does is up to me. So David could say a lot of things. He said something at the other meeting that not all the bills were paid. I presented to him a statement that was written by Chris that all the bills were paid. So David said at a prior meeting that if he doesn't want, himself doesn't want someone on the committee, he overrules the committee. I looked at the bylaws. I don't see that. I see it's up to the officers.
Uh-huh.
And I think I brought to his attention that there was an open meeting. The officers voted for everybody except Dan Gladstone. So David's remark that if he says no and everybody says yes, I think is wrong. That's my personal opinion, and I will fight for that. I don't think it's anything to do with you, Donald. You're a CAM, has nothing to do with finance. I do want to bring to the board's attention here.
Wait, if you don't mind,
I don't
I
mind.
just very briefly want to respond to one comment here.
Yeah.
Ed, you want to look at your bylaws and look at the parts under duties of the president that says, I think I'm getting it right.
I looked at
The
it.
president has general superintendence over the everyday actions. And that,
Definitely.
I would say where a guy sits down is general superintendence.
I don't think so. And I'm willing to take that to wherever it has to go.
All right.
Okay, but in any case, it doesn't include you, Donald.
At any rate, Ed.
No, does it include you? Yes or
I
no?
work as directed.
No, you don't work as directed. You're an employee. You don't have no business mixing in on what's my responsibility. And no one talked to me. You may say yes, but I'm not letting that go. The next thing is, I could even let him go. It's up to me. Okay? I'm trying not to do that. It's becoming very difficult because of the obstacles. I want to just bring a general thing to your attention that any unit owner, don't have to be an officer, can request in writing to see the books and records at the right period of time. Am I wrong in that respect? And
Right
if
in
it-
every condo I ever worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I requested in more than one occasion to get records from the reporter, which are very important to finishing the correct numbers, which is definitely on my books. And I've been turned down. So the next step is, where do I file a complaint?
Who turned you down?
Who turned me
What
down?
records are you looking for?
I'm looking for records to support the invoicing of the advertising, which I found a tremendous amount of errors. And I just got a complaint today. I think you let a gentleman in to see me. Okay.
He was here last week.
Okay, you know what his complaint was? He's been in the paper for 6 months and he's never been billed. And he asked Ruth for it more than one time. Now, I don't care who he asked for it.
We're talking about Robin Reed.
I know.
And-
Got the point. He was here last week.
Yeah,
He said he
okay.
hadn't been billed in the last 90 days. That's what he told us.
He told me 6 months, and on top of that, I don't know if you know, you get a manifest from the West Coast, Joyce, that tells you what went into the paper. And if you don't see that, it's not getting billed. I went through it very carefully myself. I went through it with Myron, who hardly comes in anymore. And on the last billing, I have definitely 7 people who were not billed and possibly 8. I can't check if it's the right amount billed because we looked at the printed schedule and we looked at what was invoiced and they don't agree. And the only way I can check it is with the contracts.
Okay.
And I was refused the contracts and it's held it up.
Could I ask you a question? You said somebody connected with the newspaper refused
Yes,
to give you that, and I asked you, who was that?
Ruth Dress.
Ruth is in the hospital for the.
Forget in the hospital. This happened.
But who's in charge of sending out the bills?
I'm not in charge, but
I'm asking you.
I'm in charge of checking them.
I understand it, but who did
What's
you
the mechanism
request?
for it?
Who's in charge of sending out the bills?
It's
Is
what
it Phil? Is it Ruth? Is it Myron? Who's in charge of sending out the bills?
you're talking about putting it in an envelope.
Yeah,
I can't tell you who because I could tell you this. I can tell you that it is so discombobulated that some of the contracts are here, some of the contracts Phil has, some of the contracts Joyce has, and the contract, a billing shouldn't go out unless it's correct.
Okay, so don't you think you should make, since Mr. Myron is not doing his job, or Phil is not doing his job at sending out invoices, that you should make a suggestion that we hire somebody to be in charge of sending out bills that are gonna do their job. They're gonna be in the office.
Well, you brought up something that's very important, because I have, as a volunteer only, a lady which not only has a lot of experience, but did the whole reporter for a year and a half, is a super good bookkeeper. She wrote me a email declining to continue doing her volunteer work because she doesn't want to put up with the nonsense.
Okay.
Now, the answer is
From whom? Who is she getting, I mean, my question is, I don't know. Who is she getting nonsense from?
And who are we talking about?
And who we
Yeah, who
talking
we
about? I don't know.
That's what I
her name is Tamara Deegan. If you look back in the old newspapers, you'll see that she was on the staff. I submitted her resume to David a while back. I now have another woman who I submitted her resume, which is Chicky Melendez. She's working on it. It's very frustrating. She actually almost had to cut out every single ad and check that ad was in the paper. Now I've got to go back. According to Rod or Rodney, whoever his name was that came in today, 6 months, not 3 months, he wasn't billed, and we have his credit card. Now that's not tolerable, not tolerable. It's wasting time. It's holding up everything. In addition to which, the nature of how the books are being kept are being changed. I bring it to you because I think that is a horrible situation, that as an auditor for a long time and as an accountant, when someone refuses to give you their information, it gives me pause.
Stop for a second. You have two people in there that you mentioned that are in charge of doing the billing. And you want to complain that the editor is not giving you something. How about going after the two people that are supposed to be sending out bills?
I did. I
And what
did.
they said?
Wouldn't talk to me. Joyce Alderman, who is in the West Coast, who takes your ads, who
I'm
sent.
talking in our office.
It goes outside our
Yeah.
office. It goes outside. You have a woman, I believe her name is Joyce Alderman. She is the employee of Greg Cox. I called her and I asked her for copies of the contracts. She said, I won't give them to you. I work for Greg Cox. I sent Greg Cox an email and asked him. He said, I'll get back to you. He never got back to me.
Okay.
Now, they work for us. They're withholding our records. I don't think that's even legal. Now, I asked David, he's not here, that's why, to call. I sent him an email and he declined and he said, I'm going to leave it to Ruth to work it out.
Ed, let me ask you, who's the financial responsible person on this end at the Yuko Reporter?
I'm responsible.
Ultimately, you're
I'm responsible for everything.
But my question is.
And I don't want to be criticized for not doing my job.
Exactly. So
Nobody's
my
criticizing
question
you.
is, and on the Yuko Reporter staff, who is responsible?
Who is this there, Phil?
Let's say
I don't
Phil.
know.
Is it Phil?
I don't know. I asked Phil.
And what do you say?
And I asked Myron.
Wait a minute.
Now, listen, I was to Myron's house.
Yeah.
I went to, and I'm willing to go there every time. When I asked him why this, why that, why this,
He doesn't know.
doesn't know.
So there's the door. Thank you very much. And try to put somebody in here.
I have
that has
shown.
has no knowledge of Yuko. Bring somebody in to help out and tell them this is what your purpose in life is.
Well, I did
Call
that.
up and do invoicing.
It
Not
took-
somebody that you personally know, that there's no personal attachment.
No, I can't go that way. I'm not, do you hire a vendor that you don't know how good they are?
Absolutely.
No, he doesn't. And I wouldn't either. It's my name on it, and if I have someone who's been here
He's got a point. We work on referrals.
for a
Well,
year,
yeah.
for a year and a half, she is not even here. This is not a
Yeah.
personal friend, this is a favor.
Well, let me
And
let me put a little finer point on this, Ed, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
I'm really trying to get to Phil. It seems to me that Phil is the business,
I asked Phil,
and I keep asking you, what did Phil say?
he's not here. He's here only one day a week.
So say goodbye and let's put people in there. We got a new year coming up.
And I
Make the
didn't ask,
changes to work for
I
you.
didn't ask you if he was here or not. I asked you. what
He
his
won't
answer-
do it. My first reaction was, Phil is working in the department. He knows more than anybody I would bring from the inside,
That's
outside,
why I'm asking you.
and he won't do it.
I don't know,
He won't do
I
it.
don't know either.
you know.
Well, you could call him. You could call him. I called him. I would also check. He doesn't feel too good. What his intentions are.
Phil, my suggestion, you have a new year coming up. Let's put a staff in there, a minimal staff that will do the job that needs to be done.
I'm for it, and I
I'm
will.
for that with the officers too.
Officers too. But again, I would stay away from people that you personally know or are personally involved.
I hear you, but that's not the way it works. Not the way it works. I don't have to take someone I don't know, and I have a person that already did the job for a year and a half.
No, you see, they're preset on how to do the job that they want to do.
No,
You want to take a person and say, this is your job. You pick up the phone, you send invoice. This is the only thing you have to
you
do.
can't, that's not the way it's done. I'm sorry, Fausto.
It used to
Let's
be,
bring, you need,
I used to be on the reporter,
yes,
okay? When I was on the reporter, I handled all the graphics. I handled the advertising, all right? Someone else handled the billing,
right.
all right? She passed away. And then we had,
Christine Brooks was in there doing collections.
yeah,
That's
that's,
Christine.
I
Brooks.
happen to have a list.
she used to do.
You had a
fantastic
list
job
a
there.
mile long, and I have it inside, who was on the reporter staff. You know how many people you have on the reporter staff now? Zero.
Hold up.
Zero.
No, that's not true.
But the first thing right now, excuse me,
This is-
the first thing right now is to get the information so that it could be done.
Let me ask you a question. How many months have you been asking for this information and not getting it?
Got to be 2 to 3 months.
Does that make sense?
No, and that's why.
Okay, so January 1st is coming. Put a suggestion to put people in there that are going to do the job and everybody else goes.
It's okay with me.
If you've been trying for 3 months, not 3 weeks,
No,
not 3 days,
And it's-
3 months, and you can't get an answer? Okay,
documented.
as far as billing, I'm talking about.
I'm talking, billing is only one part of bookkeeping. Billing, how about collections? Collections, I'm on the phone collecting. You know how long it takes to collect?
Yeah,
Okay, I have a list. Who was on reporter staff years ago? There was about 12 people. You were one of them.
Mhm.
but you still had one person doing collections.
No,
Again,
no,
yes,
It seems to me that we're having a discussion about the fine points of administrating the paper
right,
with nobody on the paper staff
Staff
in
here.
the room.
I agree.
well, I owned them. I'm the only one in
But
this, I'm
but
the
you don't
only
own
one in
right
this
now.
room
Ed, your
who
newspaper
owned 3
back
papers.
In Long Island is really not apropos here.
No, it's more than apropos. We made money. No, they
I don't give a
look,
shit.
No.
read the bylaws. What's posted is my responsibility.
How do you have?
You're right in one respect, Fausto. Clear the decks. But I may clear the decks of people you may not like. So right now, I'm bringing it to your attention. I will be
Wait a minute.
calling, excuse me, I'm going to call for a special officers meeting,
All right.
which we had before, which I asked, I was unaware that David was not going to be here. He said, I don't have to be here, but that's not really true because we're talking about a very, very serious matter.
Okay.
Other than that, I've had it for
If it's
today.
that serious, you should let us know. I mean, we're all entitled to doctor's
I'm t-
appointments.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what I'm seeing right now. What I see right now is that you want to take over the paper.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
saying.
you're-
No, wait a minute. Don't
no,
start-
no,
don't
no, I
start yelling.
am in charge
Don't
of
start
the
yelling. Don't
finances.
start yelling.
No, no, no,
All right?
stop making
No,
wrong
Don't
assumptions.
start yelling at me.
I'm not yelling.
I-
I am in
yes, you are.
charge of
Now,
the finances.
I'm just telling you what I see.
Well, you
right?
see a lot of things
You-
that are wrong. That's my opinion. You have no financial background next to mine.
You don't know
My,
what my background is.
I could tell you this. Show me your certificate of being.
Please.
Okay,
I don't-
right now,
No,
this is finance. End of story.
finance is that for 3 months, you've been trying to get somebody to do their job and they're not, and you don't know what to do.
I know exactly what to do. I'm bringing it to you.
Okay, you're bringing up about trying to get somebody to do something on the paper,
No,
but
my-
yet your friend, who is a secretary here, doesn't do anything. But she'll work for you. Why doesn't she work for us? She's supposed to be here for us, not for you.
You know, don't point, number one, you're all entitled to get your own volunteers. Okay, none of you are
But you're
gonna,
taking an officer
no,
who's supposed to be doing a specific job, and I'm doing her job.
listen,
Okay.
you've been doing her job for months and
I've been
you,
doing her job from the beginning.
and you
Never
have no
done it.
problem telling everybody. You got two choices. Don't do it or do it and keep quiet.
If I don't do it, then when delegate assembly comes up, people are gonna be coming up and say, I'm supposed to be on the list. I'm supposed to be a delegate. Well, guess what? You're not, because this lady
You
didn't do
know,
her job.
Bob, I'm gonna tell you.
Somebody has to do it.
All right, I'm gonna tell you something, and it's a little caustic, not as much as you, because I've been there. I've been there. The world is full of indispensable people who are not indispensable, and they wind up in the cemetery. You could be an officer in the major corporation one day and fired the next. The answer is simple. I'm gonna go to the next step. I don't want to be on this, that I want those documents.
Noted. Noted.
Okay,
And that's why I'm upset that David wasn't here, because he
but
said,
David had a doctor's appointment. How many meetings have you, that we were discussing important things, that I have a doctor's appointment, got up and walked
listen, me
out?
too. That's
I
why
just
I'm,
said.
that's why I'm saying I'm
So he
for.
had a doctor's appointment,
I
and
agree.
he had to take care of himself.
I agree, and that's why
The officers are here, you have a quorum, whatever problems you have, this is the place to discuss it.
okay. I just discussed.
This is what you have just talked about in terms of the finances, collecting the money and having responsible people do the
Right.
job. Certainly rational
Yeah.
and reasonable, and you will find no one in this office here right now disagreeing with you. What we have to do is set some sort of policy of how to resolve that. Go ahead and figure out what is the strategy necessary
I have,
to resolve. Well, then what we have to do is have a special meeting with the officers and those representatives from the newspaper and sit here.
He needs to have a plan to be brought to the officers that can be put into place, whether that we approve or not.
okay, the answer is very simple. I'm going to send an email or a letter to Greg Cox, who is getting paid close to $2,000 a month. And I think that withholding, whether it's yours or mine or any customer's documents, is illegal unless he has some contract to the contrary that it belongs to him. And I will ask him, which I did before, to give us several dates that we could look at and have him come in. Now, he wants the Zoom schmoom what? I'm not thrilled with Zoom. I want to sit in front of somebody. With the money he's getting, he can make a trip. That's my opinion.
I'd like to make a suggestion, since you have 2 and 3 people sometimes sitting in your office shredding papers, why don't you put them on the phone to make collections for you?
I
Send out bills.
I agree. I got one person, but let me tell you something, and you may not know it. Some people are not good on the phone for collections. Some people are bashful. Some people don't know how to move to the next step. You know, it's a skill. Some people are excellent at it. I have someone
people in the
who's
past that
excellent
were
at
just
it.
Absolutely perfect for it.
I have someone who's excellent at it, but the question becomes, it's embarrassing if you don't have the documents. You said a plan? Here's my next plan. I am going to send a confirmation which auditors do to every single customer, asking them to confirm their balance. Okay, that's my plan one. Plan two, I'm going to send an email to Greg Cox and advising him we want to see him. After we see him, we can go to the next step. I don't believe in cutting off my nose to spite my face. It's not.
How much money do you have out in the street? How much black, red ink do you have?
I can't tell. For instance, if I have 7 or 8 non-billed items on the newspaper, and that's one, and this gentleman comes and says he's 4 or 5 months behind, we've already started to pull the old newspapers and go through it one at a time. You don't want to look foolish without having the information. We know for sure in the last one, it's 7 to 8, okay? Now it's 9 because he wasn't even on the list, okay? We're gonna, if we have to cut out every single ad in the paper and see if it's been
When
billed.
Howard O'Brien became treasurer,
Yeah,
within 4 months, he knew that there was almost $40,000 of red ink out in the street. And he went and he sat with the newspaper and they made a policy to go out and collect money.
well, Howard
And they
O'Brien is long
And he
gone.
did, right or wrong?
And they did.
I know
And
he
they
did.
did. He
Okay,
did. Nobody was allowed to put an ad in the paper, and he had less people than what you got now, but he had people that were producing.
well,
To
my,
me, you got
don't
people
be
that are not
negative, my
producing.
people are producing. However, when you have someone who says, let them work it out for themselves. Okay, let them work, and I have it in writing, let them work it out for themselves. Now, we could collect it, and you hit on a very salient point. The policy in the paper is no ticky, no washing.
Mhm.
I, at one point, had $15,000 of not paid items.
Mhm.
I went to Myron, who said some people get special attention. Ruth, who is in charge, has been informed 4 or 5 times she's afraid to lose an ad. Okay? The paper is no secret cow. I don't want to run a paper. I want to collect. That's only one part. I found $45,000 on our regular books that haven't been collected that we're working on. Donald knows one guy who hasn't paid. He hasn't paid, and when I called him, Donald said, oh, he promised that money before. He promised, but he came in this month with $2,000.
I can,
Hmm?
I won.
Okay, okay. So nothing is perfect. And at that point, I think I've had it. Because you know what, this is very debilitating. I've never had this kind of situation.
David,
I've got 2 questions to ask you, Eddie. First thing about the city corp thing. Now, you're saying they don't have a form?
You could do, jump up and down and whistle Dixie.
I'm just asking.
You must be there in person.
All right.
You must be there in person.
Call for an appointment? Can you get in the bank?
You want me to get you an appointment?
No, I didn't say that. Are you allowed inside the bank or do you? have
Yes,
to-
of course, that bank's been open for weeks.
Pardon me?
It's been open for weeks.
Okay, a lot of places, my bank is still not open,
I understand, but they're open.
but I'm surprised that they didn't come here, but that's fine. But, and so I'll take care of that. That's
Thank you very much.
My only problem is how do they know that I am who I am?
Well, I appreciate it because you're the only one that stepped forward.
No, my point is, how do they know that I'm a vice president here?
How do they know?
Yeah.
Because first of all, there's something called Sunbiz.
Okay, that's fine. I'm asking you.
Okay, they check Sunbiz.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take care of it.
normally the
Next thing-
secretary sends a letter to the bank,
No problem.
who the officers are of the corporation.
I already told them in person. If you recall, I asked every one of you for a license. You declined. If I had the license at that point, we could have moved ahead because when you go in and sign now, it's going to take a couple of weeks before you even approve because under the new federal law, they go upside down and backwards on you. It's not like the old days. You walked into the bank, gave them a deposit and you walked out with an account.
The next question is that, I know you were directing this at me about a report that I asked for.
Right.
I thought all the officers were entitled to get a report.
Yes, you are, but you have to ask me. He was in the middle of something.
And I told him I didn't need it in a hurry. I said, do one at your convenience.
I don't doubt you did it, so then the fault lies with him, because if you work for me for money, you
He works
could,
for all of us.
no, he works essentially for me. Let's clear that up.
But he works for all of us.
No, he doesn't.
He works for the officers of UCO. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't have to be sorry. He's reportable to me.
Reporting is
Okay,
one
yeah.
thing, paying is another.
But yet, in order to get something done, common courtesy would be to ask me. You don't know what he's working on.
I've got no problem with that, and
Okay,
and I
but
hope you extend the courtesy to us as well.
I did. In fact, I sent in an email several weeks ago to Donald and Dominic. I haven't gotten a response. So I say, I make a motion to close. You want?
Donald has
Yeah,
something.
I just got one more thing. I kind of with Ed on this, on interrupting the bookkeeper's workflow. The bookkeeper primarily works for the treasurer. But I think the thing we're talking about is a Amazon, because you were
It
at,
doesn't matter what it was.
the point I'm trying to make
No,
is,
this
if you ask me
this is
here.
How he wants it to operate, doesn't
Right.
matter what type of report.
Right.
I only-
He happened to be in the middle of a project.
The point I'm trying to make is, if you would ask me right now for that report, I can scare it up for you on my phone instantly. So we're not talking about taking them out of action for an hour. It wouldn't have taken out.
Well, he didn't do it through Amazon. He did, it, and he printed it out.
I mean,
I'm saying common courtesy,
Not a problem.
common courtesy.
And just so that it works both ways.
I agree. Did I ever ask you to do something that I didn't say thank you? You gave me the information when I first came here on the special provision of Seacrest in regard to cutting trees. I could use all the help I can get. You're talking not 7 million, not 8 million, you're talking $15 million.
all right.
You got one more thing?
No.
You're done?
I
You want to make a
got an
motion?
appointment in a couple of minutes, so.
So you
Make
want
a
to
motion, Bob.
make a motion, Bob?
My motion is to adjourn.
I second.
Closed
Thank God.
God's sake, don't.
at 2:20. Thank you, gentlemen.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And a happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You're not coming in tomorrow?
I'm coming in on Christmas.
So you know, I'm not coming in. My wife has to go back to her doctor.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She's having a lot of trouble. Going deaf is no fun.
Sorry, gentlemen.
It's okay. Worked out well. We all bought in. We have to sit through it.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, but if somebody wasn't working for me for 90 days, they'd be fucking gone.